This is BC Spirits, your look at the province's burgeoning distilling culture.
What is happening, BC Spirits? Welcome back to another episode. Of course, I'm your host, Sean Sewell. Start off the episode right. The very last last copy of Great Northern Cocktails from me. I know it's very narcissistic of me. Goes to Kathy Johnson. Kathy, if you're watching this, can you hit me up on Instagram or Facebook just to chat about where I'm going to ship this? Darkside Slash, I haven't forgotten about you. I decided to ship both of them at the same time. So I am shipping yours out this week. Do not fret, my friend. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different. Now, hopefully you've been watching my episode a day, which has been a ton of work. I think I'm up to episode 70 now, which is substantial in my mind for some reason. Today's a little bit different because we're going to go non-alcoholic. Now, as I try and cover everything in the province, it is not the easiest job in the world. There's so much product here, and some stuff we can't get here in BC, some stuff I can't get shipped here. It's a little bit difficult, but I've got some new stuff coming very shortly. But I wanted to touch on non-alcoholic. Now, I've done syrups, shrubs, a few things earlier in the year. These are two things I have not reviewed on the show yet. One's been around for a while. One is just new. Both two things are new released. But let's kick it off. First and foremost, I'm going to be tasting up the Lumettes. Oop, is that the right way? Nope, that's the right way. That's the right way. There we go. The two Lumettes. This is brand spanking new from Lumette. Now, Lumette is from Sheringham, but they are becoming two separate companies and brands per se. So, again, their own distillery, the whole shebang. These are non-alcoholic distillates similar to Seedlip, which most people are very knowledgeable about and know about, especially on the East Coast. I haven't seen Seedlip really take a super hefty push into Victoria on the West Coast here. But that being said, Seedlip is probably the best known non-alcoholic distillate in the world. The other things we're going to be tasting today is some Sparkmouth Tonic. Now, oh man, I keep getting these labels come on, Sewell. I keep getting these labels completely wrong. So we're going to do a Sparkmouth Tonic from Phillip's, which I haven't reviewed before as well. And I've done the tonic syrups from Rootside and a Sparkmouth Wine Company. Money. But these are fully packaged tonics ready to rock and roll in the can, which go local as much as you can. Obviously, that's always the message I try and do. Now, let's kick this off talking about non-alcoholic distillates before I get a whole bunch of comments. You know what? I'm going to welcome the comments. If you've got a whole bunch of squackload of comments about non-alcoholic distillates, let me educate you a little bit. Non-alcoholic distillates have been around for as long, if not longer, than alcoholic distillates. A distillate is distilling something from a larger mass to a smaller mass and refining it and distilling it down. So, in the Middle East, orange flower water, rose water were two distillates, non-alcoholic distillates, that were created as perfumes during the spice trade in the Middle East, way before the application of distillation was moved to really being specifically for whiskey or vodka and that sort of thing. So non-alcoholic distillates have been around for centuries, eons, if you will. Seedlip started in 2015. I think it was a little bit sooner than that. They're probably the most famous. They have 3 different styles or 4 different styles now. I use them a ton in Singapore. I am well versed in how to use Seedlip. These as ingredients, especially for non-alcoholic cocktails, is not the easiest thing in the world. And Lumette got a lot of flack in the very beginning because they said they were like an alt gin, like a non-alcoholic gin, which is a really hard thing for people, especially laymen, people who aren't in depth in the industry like myself, to really wrap their heads around, because they assume that it's going to taste just like gin, but be non-alcoholic. Now, a couple of things. Alcohol gives liquid texture. So does glycerin, which gets used quite a lot when it comes to alcohols, especially vodkas, when it comes to giving texture to a very clean spirit. Now, we have to wrap our heads around that Lumette is basically flavored water. Now, I know that's a very simplified, rudimentary, BS way of describing it, but that is really what it is. You've got to put them in the same class as orange flower water and rose water. Really, that's the way you got to look at them. They're aromatic distillates that are non-alcoholic. So, Lumette, they have the the bright light, which for me leans much more towards a Hendrixy sort of flavor profile, very light, very boisterous. This one I haven't tried yet. This is the London Dry, the new London Dry style. So this is leaning into a heavy juniper kick, and that sort of thing. So 2 different styles of products. These should be treated just like you would treat seedlip. Now, if you've never played with seedlip, how should you treat seedlip? So you have to imagine when you're making a cocktail that if you're mixing something that doesn't really have a textural nature, like a gin or a vodka or whiskey or rum, you need to be very specific about sugar. Sugar and salt. We're going to focus in on sugar because that's a little bit easier. Sugar gives you texture. Doesn't necessarily give you sweetness, because if it's balanced, it is texture, and then the sweetness can be overpowering or underpowering, so on and so forth. But texture in a daiquiri, sugar gives that daiquiri texture. Rum, and like white rum and lime juice with no sugar, is very thin, very blah, very boring. That sugar brings it texture, brings it mouthfeel. So that's the way you're going to look at when you're playing around with the Lumettes or Seedlip. I'm going to keep bringing up Seedlip because Seedlip is a multi-million-dollar company, and when Lumette came out, I had to get online and tell people to pull their neck in because it is a fantastic product. You just have to learn how to use it. Just like when certain products hit the market, such as cachaça. I'm going to go to a really big brand that is massive now, but when Hendrick's first hit the market, it was so anti-London Dry gin that a lot of bartenders poo-pooed it, saying that you can just plug in Hendrick's into something you would use Tanqueray for. These are the same things. So, when a new product hits the market, educate yourself, learn how to use it, understand what it is, and then bring forward your opinion. Don't just not taste it and not understand it. Now, would I say taste these by themselves? Hell to the no. They're flavored, like I said, they're flavored freaking water. You wouldn't drink rose water by itself or orange flower water. That's gross. Even thinking that, my mouth is just going blah, blah, blah. But you got to treat them differently. You got to add some more sugar, add a couple of drops of salt to give that textural balance. These in like a daiquiri, not a daiquiri style, I shouldn't say that. These with some lime juice and some sugar, money. Really good non-alcoholic cocktails. Now, if you really want to get crazy, if you're a bartender at home, making a non-alcoholic vermouth is actually really simple. You utilize non-alcoholic wine and you treat it the exact same way. Now, you're not going to fortify it per se because you can't fortify it because it's non-alcoholic, but it gives you the same texture and flavor profile as vermouth. Let's get through all this and let's get tasting. So what I've done is I've cracked both the tonics. So they've got the artisanal tonic. Now, when Sparkmouth started, with Phillips, they did 4 flavors, I believe. But the artisanal, obviously, is their house classic. And the cucumber mint tonic, sort of stayed as... What did I just do? I just screwed up. I'm going to have to do that. What am I going to do now? I'm going to put that there, and do this here. So. That's frustrating. Sewell, you silly man. These should have enough sugar, balance. A lot of the local tonics are going to have that. Syrup-wise, if you use soda. So on the nose, again, I sort of lean the bright light, I keep saying bright light, into a sort of low juniper, West Coast style gin, very Hendricksy sort of feel to it. With the Sparkmouth has just enough sugar concentration in the can to give you this beautiful sort of mouthfeel and texture. It sort of brings weight to the drink. The cucumber tonic, the cucumber tonic literally tastes like your gin and gin and tonic. I think that the cucumber tonic with this is much more inclined to what it is. This gives much more of a gin and tonic sort of feel to it. The high quinine. So the London Dry style, again, the texture is there. It really showcases the way it should be tasting. I think I'm going to go with the cucumber mint, I think, and the cucumber mint from Phillips, this one right here, I think goes better with both of them because you're trying to add dimensions. Now, if you think that you're gonna have a non-alcoholic gin, unfortunately, it's not going to replace your gin plug and play. The London Dry is very, very close. For me, I love this in sparkling water with some frostbite lime, or even this with frostbite lime shaken gimlet style. I find the London Dry is fantastic for that. Will be fantastic for that. I've always liked the bright light with lime cordial. I think the cucumber mint is the best tonic to go for it. If you're going for a syrup a la Rootside Cellars, go the heavy cardamom one. You're trying to accentuate the flavors that you've got in this mix to sort of add to it. This is not a plug and play. Any ingredient from BC, I've talked about this a million times on every gin podcast and every gin episode, or every whiskey episode. Most BC spirits aren't plug and play with your macro big brands. They're much more, you have to tweak it a little bit. You have to sort of lean into the local. I think, I'm going to taste the London Dry Solo. It's hard because when you add the tonic or add your juice or add your cocktail ingredients, it lengthens out those flavors. It really stretches them really, really nicely. And I think the cucumber mint tonic from Sparkmouth is probably my favorite pairing for both these, the light bright and the London Dry. Go out and if you didn't feel like you understood the light bright, the bright light, fucking light bright light. If you haven't tried, man, labels today, killing with the labels. If you haven't tried the London Dry, go out and try it. Pick up some local tonics. Do not go macro, quinine heavy, Schweppes and that sort of thing. Go out and look after some local BC Phillip's Sparkmouth tonics. But I think for examples, for how much I worked with Seedlip in Singapore and how much work I did to sort of perfect my classic cocktails using Seedlip in Singapore, I think these are a little bit more multi-dimensional than the Seedlip. For me, I love the Seedlip products, but I have to blend them to create my own house sort of gin flavor profile. These already do that for you. So go out, get some tonic, squeeze a little bit of lime in there, away you go. If you're not drinking, I think these are a really good substitute for a soda. For bartenders out there, play around with your sugar contents, because doing a plug and play, you're going to have to add a little bit more sugar. Just give it texture. It doesn't have that alcohol texture. But that is my little review that I haven't done before on the show, Lumette and tonics. Go out and get yourself one of the Lumettes. I'm going to try and get the label right. Oh, small labels. And get yourself some Sparkmouth. Or if you're going to get the Rootside tonics, really, really good tonics. Hit up the hard cardamom one, the really heavy cardamom with the London Dry, or the light bright light, the bright light, and do some of the syrup in a soda stream, then add it to it, so it's got that really big cardamom tonic punch. I think it'll really add an extra dimension to it. It's all about not just poo-pooing a product because you don't understand it, but learn how to understand it and then utilizing it the way it should be. So that is episode review, I think number 50 actually. Maybe 50. But hope you're enjoying Spirit of the Day. Congratulations to Kathy Johnson for winning the last copy of Great Northern Cocktails. I really appreciate all your support on YouTube. I'm going to probably announce on Thursday, Friday what next week's prize will be. I'm still trying to track down the books a little bit, but there will definitely be a giveaway for next week. So thanks for the support on YouTube, guys. Thanks for the support everywhere. Really appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying this. I'll chat to you soon. Bye.